Jess, today we're going to give some answers to the last last two podcasts, right? We started this with what do we think? This is series episode number 3 of 3. The first one was what is the number one coaches think their problem is, right? What is the number one problem they think it is? And then we answered that on
Mhm.
number 1. Number 2, we said, well, here's what we really know those answers should have been. Today, we're going to solve that for all the listeners. You ready?
I'm ready. Let's do it.
Let's go. Okay, so let's back up a little bit. So we said in the very first one, when we interact with coaches, when we engage with coaches, they come to us and they say, hey, we've got problems. Here's my problems. I don't have enough leads. My tech isn't good enough. My funnels aren't big enough. I don't have the right channels, right? They have all of these challenges they think they are identifying as why they're not successful. Did
Mhm.
we miss any in there?
No, I think you hit the nail on the probably big 3 or 4 there for sure, of they like to blame external things
Mm.
or things that they can't fully control because they haven't done the work of figuring out what the actual problem is.
That's right. So then we fast forward to last episode. And last episode, we expose what we see is actually the problem or problems. It's normally plural. And very simply, though, it kind of comes back to what you just said there. You're trying to overcomplicate things, right? Number one,
Yeah.
it's overcomplicated. Number 2 is you're probably more clever than you are clear, right? So we
Mhm.
call that clarity over cleverness. And so we got to help you create clarity there. And then here's the thing, Jess, this was a hard one for some coaches to internalize is that there's this unique word, right? This uniqueness, and we have to help them in that space of uniqueness. So let's is there any more that we need to identify on what we see?
Yeah, just to circle back the last episode, the underlying theme of it was knowing your own coaching identity. And we said that the way that you do that is through simple, clear language that everybody can hang their hat on. And that's what the true problem is like you said, it's cleverness, it's complication, it's using somebody else's labels. Like it's a whole lot of different things wrapped up into a convoluted mess of chaos rather than a clear, simple like lane or payoff. And so we talked a little bit about that, but I felt like this episode needed to focus on how people overcome all of this and lean into solving what is the actual problem, because that will lead to the trickle down effect of impacting all the things they believe are the problems that aren't really the primary issue.
Yep, agreed. So, for those at home, those are keeping score here, open up your blueprint and let's get to work. Oh, you don't have a blueprint because you're not in the community. Sorry, that was bad. No, but seriously, this is all written inside of our blueprint. So what we're going to come to today with is that, right? Is the answers to how do we solve for this? How do we solve for this mess of complication that we have? How do we solve for this mess of lack of clarity? Right? You don't have clients because your leads or your tech or your funnel is broken. You have lack of clients. You have lack of clients. You have lack of leads because you have lack of clarity. And you have lack of clarity because you can't identify what it is at your uniqueness. So let's go into this, Jess. Let's start to really help them in a very simple way, right? Because this is what the blueprint does. Very simply starts to walk them down this path. So the step 1 here, what would you say? Because you are the brain behind this blueprint. I mean, I got a little sprinkle of dust on top of it, but this is like all of yours. So first step. First
Well, the
step
first,
for someone without
yeah,
the blueprint.
for someone without the blueprint, I would say figuring out what do you want to be known for as a problem solver. And what I mean by that is too often people will sit here and be like, oh, I'm an executive leadership coach. I'm a life coach. I'm a business coach. I'm a whatever. I'm like, that's real cool, but those are a dime a dozen because that's just a title you slapped on yourself. So, what do you want to be known for when somebody says, I have this problem? And you're like, I know a guy.
Mhm,
And if you
mhm.
can name that, that is the best place to start.
You know what's neat about that too? That's great language. How many times have we heard people say, "Oh my gosh, the coaching space is saturated." right? It's
all
so
the time.
full. It's so full. Yeah, that's right. It is full of people who say, I'm a coach.
Yeah.
But to Jess's point, if you know exactly who you are, what you do, and again, problem solution cycle, you know what it is. Now you can get a little more specialized and a little simpler in your language.
Well, and the other caveat that I will add here, because I've actually seen it recently on socials, is people ranting about the dime a dozen coaches and people saying that they're a coach when they haven't actually solved the problem for themselves yet. And so I will challenge you to name something that you want to be known for because you've already gotten the solution. You have to be further along in the journey, but have walked the same path as the client that you're intending to help. Otherwise, you don't get to call yourself a coach. I mean, that's my opinion, but I feel like people who call themselves a coach and have never done the thing that they're teaching somebody how to do, that's a problem right there. You can position it in a different way, but coaches are people who have already gone before and now they're turned around teaching the people following them. It's just another word for a leader, essentially.
It's
And
a real person, relevant, experience, authentic leaders, right?
exactly, exactly. And so we need people to understand that if you are stepping into a coaching space or you're in a coaching space and you're carrying the torch of some title or label of something you've never done, that is your first problem that you can let go of and name the thing that you already have done that you have a solution to. You are the I've done the thing and everybody should know you for that.
Perfect. Okay, so let's say we've identified that. I know the thing. I can clearly state that I help people build businesses. Right?
Okay.
I help business owners build their business. Great. Next, what do I do with that once I have clarity on that? Or let's go to
You
yours.
got to name the payoff specifically because that is very generic language.
Love it.
And what I
Perfect.
mean by that is if you just say, "Hey, I help people build businesses," that makes you a business coach. Those are a dime a dozen. So, what specifically do you do that gets them the result that solves their pain point or their problem? And how is that language unique to your experience and what you've lived in terms of that payoff space?
Love it. So, and this is a challenge, right? This right here, this payoff. We had a coach in the community the other day just post this in there that that's was the challenge that they had. And the neat part about this is you've got to go back and do the work. What's the work? Well, you got to go back and see the containers you came from. The containers you came from probably have what Jess likes to use called a thread, right? And the thread is the consistent language, the consistent
Pattern, theme,
pattern that you are
whatever.
starting to
Yeah.
see, right? And inside of the blueprint, we call these, well, we theme them out, right? We start to
Mhm.
theme these patterns out, and you'll start to see that, oh my gosh, there really is a pattern of problems that I solve, right? And what is that, Jess? And your brand is so good and so simple. Big ideas made simple, and that's what you have done. That was your thread line through it
Mhm.
to where we are today.
Exactly. And it took me time to get there. I didn't wake up one morning go, "Oh my god, I know my thread and I know how to say it simply and clearly and here it is and blah, blah, blah." I mean, it took time to get there. So please don't feel like while you're hearing us listen step 1, step 2, step 3 that you're behind. If you don't have it, it takes time, but this is the path to get there as quickly and efficiently as possible so you can overcome anything that you're struggling with in terms of your coaching problems. So, to recap, you gotta find the thread, and then and it then you gotta make sure the language of the thread is unique. So again, Adam named, "I help people build businesses." Cool. Well, what's the payoff? How do you help them build it? What's the thing that they're getting on the other side of the build? And what's the unique language around that? So you have to figure out your positioning language.
Yep. And once you have that positioning language, it's starting to now create your own little IP, right? It's starting to create
Mhm.
your uniqueness. It's starting to create you, or I like to call it the fill in the blank name way, right? What is the Jess way? What is the Adam way? What is the I love coaching way? This is your process. This is the step by step. This is the how to, and then Jess likes to say this is the how you. And
Mhm.
and the neat part about that is now You get to live in an authentic space. Well, what's authentic mean? Well, this is how I did it, right? This is how I did
Yeah.
it. And you know it now. You don't have to be inauthentic and say, "Oh, well, I'm getting this from my past container," right? This is how someone should build a business. This is how someone should build a team. These are the steps they should take. And then, a question comes in that past framework can't handle, and you don't know
Hmm.
how to answer it. Why? Because it's not yours. And when you have your process, when you have that through line, when you have that thread, and now you have this clarity, then someone can ask you a question of, "Uh-oh, it doesn't quite fit here, but I think I know how I would handle that solution because this is mine."
That's a perfect way to put that because it is going to crush any sort of imposter syndrome you're
Yeah.
having, any insecurities you're feeling when you can speak to something you've already done versus trying to name something you're aspiring to. And for me, that's the biggest thing that we see is when people go pick a title and then they don't have a clear payoff that comes from a process they've already gone through. That's when all that imposter syndrome shows up. But when you can confidently talk to what you've already done, oh, yeah, oh, you want to run a 5K? I already ran a 10K. Let me tell you what I did. Like, whatever the thing is if you speak from the experience, it automatically gives you authority, which you mentioned IP earlier. One of our good friends that we've had on a previous podcast episode, John Meese, always, touts the root word of authority is author. And here's the thing is you have to author your own IP, your own intellectual property, your own process, your own framework, your own language. If you're borrowing language from a past container or naming something that isn't your own thread, then you are going to show up as the most inauthentic human there is. And you're going to really struggle in this coaching space or anywhere else because people can smell BS a mile away.
Yeah, for sure.
So you're riling me up, Adam, but it's true that it matters so much that you are doing all of this from who you are and where you've been.
Now, I want to put an asterisk right here for a second because we have a good friend, a community member who did this process, right? He went down this path and created this process. And here's the asterisk that I want to make. This process, you've been standing on top of your mountain of solving this process for years. You've
Hmm.
been doing this day in and day out, year in and year out, maybe even decade in, decade out. So as you stay at the top of this mountain and you think, "Oh, okay, well, I'm going to listen to this. I'm going to build out the process." Your language in that process is still way too high. It's still
Hmm.
way too high. It's still over their heads. And the individual is listening to this. I know he is. And built an amazing process. I love what he built, but the messaging from it didn't resonate because it was way too high. And the neat part about just what you have helped him with, which I love, is you got to bring down that language. You have to bring it
Well, you're
down.
you're going into my step 4 or 3 or whatever number we're on,
Right.
which was simplify it.
Correct. Right. That was going to be my point. Is you bring
Okay.
that language all the way down, almost to the point where it is so simple that we jokingly say sometimes that you could walk into a third grader's class and someone could introduce you and say, "This is my mom," or "This is my dad," or "This is my good friend," and this is what they solve. And these third graders like, "Holy cow, I want that."
Well, this is how you get full circle on what I said at the beginning of you want to be known as, hey, I know a guy that does that. And so you have to go through the process of naming it, figuring it out, and owning it. But then you have to simplify the language in an attractive way. And the simplified language has to speak again to the pain, not the summit of the mountain that you're standing on top of. And so aspirational language doesn't sell. Inspirational language doesn't sell. Tactical language speaking to where they are and what they want to overcome does. People don't want to be told they're doing the wrong things. They want to be told how to make the things they're doing easier.
Easy. Yep. Love it.
And so your language needs to speak around that. And that's why Adam using my example of big ideas made simple is great. And we have to solve for every single coach's very big, big ideas made simple type language. What is the thing they do that everybody's like, "Oh my God, Jess makes things easy. Oh my
Yep.
God, Adam does this. Oh my God, so and so does this." And that's the thing that you have to get your world into that is not a generic title of being a business coach.
Totally true. And the neat part about this is just to your point, this doesn't happen overnight. And yet you get to work on it day in and day out, right?
Hmm.
So problem, right? That's what we have been exposing over these last 3 episodes is what do the coaches think their problem is? Not true. What do we know the coach's problem to be? We've seen it. And now we're
Hmm.
giving you the solutions on how to solve what we talked about last time. And the neat part is as you get clarity here, you can sit there and work on it and work on it and develop it and redevelop it. You've heard us talk about our blueprint ad nauseum now. Guess what? That's version like 8 point what, Jess? 2, 3?
Two, 8
8.2.
point whatever. I
That
don't know.
means there were 7
Probably
versions
technically it's a
before
version
it.
9, but yes.
Yeah. There's 7 versions before it, and they're not that the versions were wrong. It is that we got even better at it, right? We simplified
Hmm.
it even more to the point where it's like, holy cow, we could walk into a 3rd grader's room and share with them what we do, and they'd be like, "Oh, sign me up for it."
Right. Well, the it's funny. The blueprint text got longer because it got smaller steps, simpler and clearer each step. So it seems more comprehensive, but it's because it's meant to meet people where they are, not talk from where we are. And that's the big differentiator there, that when you go back to episode 1 and all the problems that people have or think they have, all of that stems from a lack of simple, clear language speaking to a position and a payoff. And so if you can become the, hey, Jess is the so and so person or Adam's the so and so person, when you can do that for yourself, then that makes everything else, the tech, the marketing, the websites, the funnels, the attraction events, the keynotes, the whatever, that much easier. Because if you are the, whatever guy, then everything else, it just becomes a solar system, an ecosystem for you, and that's that central gravitational pull that everybody knows you for. And then you can be like, oh, well, yeah, I totally have that asset. I mean, you were laughing at me this morning because over the weekend at 4 a.m. when I couldn't sleep, I built a lead magnet after consuming a bunch of information. But that still plays into my brand because my brand is big ideas made simple. So I synthesize somebody else's content ad nauseum into a single small prompt pack and made a lead magnet from it.
Mhm.
So I made a big idea
Now
simple.
you're just teasing them now. You're
No,
teasing
no,
them is
no,
what
but
you're
the
doing
whole
because
thing, but
they're gonna
Adam, that's
want
my
this now.
point.
You're gonna have to give it to them now. I mean,
Well,
you
if
put it
they
out there.
DM me on Instagram, they can have it. Follow me first so I can see the DMs though if we're not following. But my point is and I will happily give any of my lead magnets away, but the whole point is everything that I do naturally now lends itself to big ideas made simple. And everything that you do now naturally lends itself to help people build coaching businesses. And so we found your world to be exceptionally beautiful in that coaching business space because you've done it, you've lived it, you've built every version of it, and you can speak clearly to what works and what doesn't and why you should or shouldn't think this way or do this thing or invest in this thing or commit to this thing. And so anybody who's listening, I mean, I've been with you, Adam, for nearly 4 years, and you did this long before we met. And so you are speaking from nearly a decade of experience now just in the coaching vertical. And that gives you so much more authority because you're speaking from it, not calling yourself a business coach. So, all that to be said, if you are somebody who is frustrated with where your business is and where you want it to grow to, please go back to the basics and start with who you are, where you are, what you've done, and let's get simple language around your thread, and the thread being the problems that you solve. So that way people think of you as that person as the go-to when anybody says, I have this problem.
That's right. And then lastly, I'll add this last little caveat to it is once you have clarity there on everything that we just said, you can actually price it correctly,
Yeah.
right? Once you have clarity there, you again have heard us say this over and over and over. You are not for sale. Stop trying to think that you, Johnny, Mr. or Mrs. Coach, are for sale. If you are, here's what I'm going to challenge you with. You are thinking like an employee, right? Employees trade their time for money. You are a coach that is clear on what you solve When you have clarity on what you solve and your language is simple, the payoff becomes that much easier. And then that is what's for sale, not
Yeah,
you. The payoff of your clarity is what's for sale.
100%.
Yep. Perfect. Okay, Jess, land the plane. I trust we've solved their problems here. I trust that we've given them the steps. I think this works.
I think it works really well. And again, it's meant to not be overwhelming, but to meet you where you are in your coaching journey. And if that is something that you would like a little bit more feedback on, again, like I said, you can follow Adam and I on socials, but really reach out to us via ilovecoachingco.com. We have live events, we've got a newsletter, all that kind of stuff. And we are here to help people gain that clarity so they can move forward with their coaching business and their coaching goals.
That's right. Yep. Perfect. We will see you next time. Thanks for listening. See you. Bye.
Bye.